Hello, my name is Lisa Hayward, and I work at the Department of Education in the Office of Social and Emotional Wellness. And today I am really excited to have to be joined by Tiffani Arsenault from the New Hampshire Correctional Facility up in Berlin join us. And Tiffani is a family support specialist, and she works at the Family Connections Center. But Tiffani, before I go any further, I'm so thrilled to see you again. New Hampshire is a really small state. And when was it, Tiffani? 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20
Closer
years
to
ago?
15 for sure. Yeah.
Tiffani was a student in one of my classes at Granite State College, and it could have even been the College for Lifelong Learning at that point.
It wasn't. They had just switched over.
Oh, so it's so wonderful to have you join us, Tiffani.
Thank you.
So I've got a couple of questions for you about the Family Connection Center and the work that you're doing and how it relates to schools and the students in the New Hampshire K through 12 schools. So let me jump right in with my first question. Can you tell me a little bit about the Family Connection Center?
Sure. So the Family Connection Center is a family resource center uniquely located in the New Hampshire Department of Corrections. So we are in the 3 state prison settings, 2 men's facilities and 1 women's. Christina Toth, who's the current administrator, had created this back in 1998. So we've actually been around for quite some time, although over the years, it has just continued to grow and build different connections and become very collaborative. So we offer parent education, relationship education, ongoing support groups, and then recently with some other funding from the Second Chance Act grant, we've expanded out into doing some community stuff too, providing support groups for caregivers and kids over Zoom. So there's a lot going on here and lots of things in between that. So it was created with the idea that kids, parents are coming to prison or people are coming to prison, and many of them are parents. And for so many years and still so often it's overlooked that the children are also impacted by their parents' incarceration.
So I'll use that as a jumping off point for my second question for you, which is, why should schools or why should educators be involved with with you? And how does this benefit students in grades K through 12?
So from lots of research out there on children of incarcerated parents, they have found that 1 in 28 kids have an incarcerated parent. So I know when I first heard that number, I instantly think of a classroom. So Annie E. Casey Foundation a few years back printed a report, and they, specific to New Hampshire, said that there was approximately 15,000 kids in New Hampshire. Research also says most of the kids are actually under the age of 10 when their parents first come into prison. So it makes sense that these children are also going into our public school system, into private schools, and that, as we know, the majority of children's time is spent with teachers and educators in places outside of their home. So where they go for support and resources can often be a teacher or coach or somebody along those lines. So FCC assumes that people know these things. And although it seems like everybody should know it, if the parents or the children don't share it, you're not going to know. So we would like teachers and educators to make the assumption that they do have a student or have come across students in their teaching career that have an incarcerated parent. The benefit for them, for the children, I think it was really the benefit for the children with the incarcerated parent and the children without an incarcerated parent. So my more recent story is my daughter, I had to register her for kindergarten, and we live in a cute small town up north. And we went through the questionnaire and they asked some general questions, but nothing specific to incarceration. So I asked about that afterwards. And the conversation is just simply, there's a lot of shame around incarceration. So if I had an incarcerated family member, I wouldn't share that unless I'm directly asked that. So because it's not being shared, people don't know, we don't know how to respond or react. Our hope is that by providing some educational resources to educators and teachers and communities, that we can have these children who are affected better supported and feel better supported by their teachers and their peers. So we want other children to be able to know that, you know, it's pretty normal, and that the kids who have an incarcerated parents are still just the kids. They're still just the students or their friends or their neighbors.
I think that's such an important point. And I know that it's easy to make the assumption that because somebody has got an incarcerated parent, that that parent is not a good parent, but that's such a faulty assumption. And I don't think it can be made as a blanket statement, because we know that many incarcerated parents and caregivers are indeed very, very focused on the well-being and the academic, the social and emotional well-being of their children. So I think that destigmatizing that you're trying to facilitate is really critical.
We saw that a lot during COVID, actually. It makes me think of that. So when COVID first really kind of happened and a lot of people were doing homeschooling, one of the things of our program is we offer video visits. So for 20 minutes every week, parents incarcerated are able to visit with their children. And so I work specifically with the fathers up in Berlin. So many of the fathers were utilizing that time to help with homework and the learning process, which they have been doing for years. It's kind of norm, but as the dads recognized, whether it was mom, grandma, whoever the caregiver was stressed with it, or there was more going on, the dads were really specific to say, hey, what's going on for homework? How can I help you today? And they were doing it on the phone, on the units they would report, and they were using their visit time to help with that process too. So you're right, an incarcerated parent isn't the bad parent. Sometimes they're the best parent. Maybe they're the most consistent parent in that child's life, because it can be mom or dad.
So with that in mind, I know that the FCC has got some resources specifically for today. You've got 2 books that you'd like to share with schools across the state, and these are books that are specifically for children. So would you mind telling us a little bit about these 2 books, you know, the audience, what they're about, and anything that you feel might be relevant?
Yeah, so with a generous donation from the Department of Public Health, we were able to go out, and Christina had done a lot of research, just trying to find what would be, you know, how could we best use these funds. So we came up with 2 books. One of them, which we say is aimed at the younger kids, it's more of a storybook, is called Far Apart, Close in Heart, Being a Family When a Loved One is Incarcerated. It's a book by Becky Bertha. And it's just about children and their feelings when a parent becomes incarcerated, and it goes through a ton of emotions. Again, it's one of those, my daughter's a guinea pig for me for a lot of things. And so we read that book together, and it has a lot of feelings. It's really heavy, but it created such a great conversation too. So again, these books are aimed at supporting children with incarcerated family members, incarcerated parents. Even if you have a kid who doesn't, though, it's still a great book, right, to just kind of expand their thinking and open them up to that. The other book we have, which we say is a little older, is what's this one? What Will Happen to Me? And this one has more just children, and then they share a little testimonial about their feelings. And it's kids of a variety of ages. Just it's not in a storybook setting, so our thought is that that's more geared towards the older kids, or you know, depending on kids and what their abilities are to process some of these things. We have started contacting and going around to deliver these books to schools throughout New Hampshire. All of our staff have been working really hard. It's quite the project. But we've reached out to superintendents and principals, and some of it is just kind of cold stopping and saying, hey, we have these resources. And it's been an interesting experience. There's some schools that are so eager to take them in, and some that are nervous about it. And I wonder if they're like, oh, we have to check with administration, or we have to check with this. And, you know, these books that we're bringing to you are just, they're resources. There's no political agenda. The point of them is to help kids learn about other kids, help kids feel supported if that story is them, right? We know the value of kids saying, hey, that's me, or that could be me, or that's my family. So helping educate teachers and anybody kind of along the way that cares about kids.
So I can put your contact information in, and if anyone is interested in learning more about their book, so they can just email you, right?
Yeah, definitely. So if you haven't received books yet and you are interested, reach out to us. Like, we're doing our best. We're chipping away at this very lengthy list, and it's just being done by our staff. So we have a staff team. There's maybe 6 or 8 of us, but we live in different parts of the state. So we're trying to coordinate how to kind of make a little book tour and drop these off. And when we drop them off, though, we're dropping off one of each of the books, as well as some additional resource information. the support groups I mentioned. There's a flyer in there with the most recent support group times, and some more information on just the Family Connection Center program.
Okay, so you mentioned the meetings, the support groups. Okay, I don't have that in my questions, but can you tell me? Can you tell us what they are?
Yeah, that's fine. So with the Second Chance Act grant, the Family Ties Inside Out project, we partnered with family resource centers around the state, and a few of them committed to providing Zoom-based support groups. And there's, gosh, I want to say 4 or 6 different ones because they're broken down by age group. So there's one for like preschoolers who kind of come with their caregivers, right, given the age, early elementary kids, preteen, and then adolescents. And then there's 2 groups specific to caregivers. So because they're on Zoom, you can be from anywhere. We actually have people who, we have an incarcerated dad here, and their family lives out of country. And so those children and caregivers attend. So you don't have to even be from New Hampshire or have roots in New Hampshire to attend. And yeah, so it's just a great place to connect, to get some more resources and feedback, and to realize that maybe you're not the only caregiver or you're not the only kid. Because again, we throw numbers around constantly, but that, until you see a real face to say, hey, I'm not the only one going through this.
That's fantastic. So I can put that, I'll add that link, that contact information too.
Yeah.
So in the interest of time, because we always have these really short periods of time for these mini recordings, if there's one message or there is one thing that FCC would like schools and educators to know on how they can really be most supportive to their students who have an incarcerated caregiver or parent, what would that be, and why?
There are so many great educators out there, and we're all doing the best we can with what we have, and resources are limited. So if you know that you have a student, or you hear that there's a student, or just through conversation, you're wondering what's kind of going on or what's available, just know the Family Connection Center exists. So nobody is responsible to know it all. And one thing that we know, we have resources and supports for kids and for educators on how they can work with children with an incarcerated parent, and what is available outside for those kids. So just know that this program exists. We are, like I said, we're at 3 locations, but it doesn't matter who you contact, whether or not their parent is in state prison or a jail setting. We're open and available and always willing to talk to individuals. I've gone around before. I talked with the superintendents last fall. I've gone into a couple of local schools and given little presentations about the impact of incarceration on children. So we're always willing to talk and share and have that conversation about, about the kids who are impacted by incarceration, and what we can do to make sure they feel supported.
And how do the students ultimately benefit? I'm going to end with that question. What is the real, the walk away for the students who are actually in a situation like this?
The walk away for the students who are in a situation like this is to feel like they're not alone, and to feel that, I think there's a couple layers to it. 1, to feel like they're not alone. They're not the only ones going through this situation. 2 is to know that they have adults in their lives. So we know protective factors, a caring, stable adult is so important to kids. If that caring, stable adult also comes with just saying, hey, you have a parent who's incarcerated, ask the questions, because just because you don't ask or talk to them about it doesn't mean they're not already thinking about it. So don't be afraid. It's their daily life. So the kids just knowing that they have a voice, or that they have a safe place to talk about it. And then, like I said, having some of this information available for other kids as well, who may not be directly impacted, then their peers who do have a parent incarcerated know, hey, this is how my friend reacted to this topic. I know they're a safe person now too. So maybe just kind of building their network.
That's fantastic. So on that note, we're kind of out of time. Tiffani, it's been such a pleasure to see you again after all these years.
Likewise.
like there's Tiffani, and I hate to say this, but I'm a grandmother now, so I can say Tiffani is all grown up now. Even though you were completely grown up as an undergraduate student. You were the brightest and the best, and it's like bumping into you again after all these years is fantastic. And up in the Berlin area in particular, it's such a great community.
Sure is.
So thank you for your time, Tiffani, and thank you for your method and for all of the information that you're sharing with schools and educators today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.